Good afternoon and welcome to the Return Homestead. My name is Mike and my wife Marty and I homestead 6 acres in northeastern Kentucky. It's Monday and we're going to try to give you another quick look at exactly what it is we do on the homestead on a Monday. So we had a little bit of failure with that last week. Things kind of went a little bit awry, but we're going to try that again this week. So today we really didn't have a huge plan in place. The one thing that we've been worried about is that our strawberries haven't come up yet. So the biggest part of our day was planned to go out and find those strawberries. Well, they're not as easy to find as you might expect, at least not strawberries that make sense or have a good price on them. We were able to find a bundle of 25 for $14, which is an excellent price for a group of strawberries. We got some Juneberry and some Everberry, and Marty's going to work on getting those put into the garden. And also, while we were out at our favorite Amish nursery where we were getting the strawberries, we also got what's underneath the tarp here. And we've decided to step up our raspberry game. Hopefully we'll have enough time to get these into the ground today. They are absolutely pot bound. If y'all didn't see the short that I produced on this, we picked up this bucket of raspberries for $14 at Walmart. This is last season's plants, and they have propagated and grown here in the pot. So there are actually anywhere from 15 to 20 plants here in the bucket. So we're going to have to put in a new row, a new bed for us to plant these in. So hopefully we'll be able to get to that today because these need to get out of the pot. And underneath the tarp, we have cedar mulch. So this is one of the things we desperately needed here on the homestead because we've got a lot of trees in the ground, but we haven't done a whole lot about managing those trees. So we simply got them into the ground, got them secured in place so that they're not going to fall over. But if y'all remember, the roots weren't really substantial on those. And we want to make sure that these trees have every possible chance to grow up healthy and strong. So we're going to have to do something about controlling all of the grasses and weeds that are growing up around the trees to give the trees the best possible chance. And this is a good part of what we're going to do. So this is 2 yards of material here in the bed. They have a 1 yard bucket. They put 2 scoops in here. This cost us $67. This is approximately $1.24 per cubic foot. If we were to go to a big box store to buy this, it'd be about $1.89 a cubic foot. And that would be a lot of little bags to then try to get rid of. Keep in mind, all that plastic, it's hard to dispose of. So the plan first is to get some of this compost up around these trees. We're just going to dump this in the grass and cover the grass up right at the base of the tree. So we'll keep the compost back away from the tree, but we want to get some fertilizer basically on the trees. This is going to provide some good nutrition for those trees. It'll break down slowly over time, drop its nitrogen into the clay soils that we put the tree into, and hopefully give the tree a little bit of a boost and a kickstart so we get some better root growth. And on top of that, we're going to place some cardboard. So we'll use some more of those boxes that we have out in the barn. And then on top of the cardboard, we'll use this mulch. Now, the cedar mulch just smells nice, guys. It's also going to help with keeping the insects away. They don't like the smell of this mulch very much, so that's going to be another barrier of protection that we'll have around the trees. This will break down very slowly compared to a lot of the other barks that are all covered in clay. I really prefer this. This was the only one that they had that was just clean, shredded wood. Everything else was covered with some sort of a clay, and I just don't trust the clays that they put on those things. So this is what we prefer. Y'all were thinking maybe we did a little bit of overkill getting an entire truckload of this compost and spending all that money. We're about 2/3 of the way through the pile. So there's not much of this stuff left, and we've still got a lot of work that we have planned for this little bit of compost. Keep that in mind as you're getting out there trying to figure out what to do with your new land, you're going to have some way to add fertility, unless it's already very fertile ground. You know, that's one good idea. If you are out there looking for land, see if you can find some homestead that's for sale. If you've got somebody who's been homesteading out there for 3 or 4 years on a piece of property, maybe they're upgrading to something a little bit larger, or just has a better setup for their needs, and they're leaving the homestead they've been working on. We've done that twice already. And maybe you can come in behind them, pick up all that fertility that's already in the ground. Make sure you're looking for that. You know, when you're out there looking for property, don't be looking in neighborhoods. You're not going to find what you're looking for there. If you're looking on any of the websites like Realtor or Zillow, make sure you're setting yourself up for success by looking at only lots that are at least 5 acres or more. We're only on 6 acres here. It's just enough for us. I would have preferred to have had 10, so another 4 acres would have been nice, but 6 acres is going to take care of our needs just fine. And it probably would for any husband and wife that are out there homesteading. A lot of the calculations that I've seen where agencies of the government have looked at what's required for a homestead, they've always said it would require 10 acres as a minimum to sustain a family on a homestead. And that would include being able to provide all of the wood for fires. So assuming that the wood stove would be the only heat source for the home. That's what they calculate, is 10 acres would be enough for that. So if you're worried about, how you're going to manage 50 or 60 acres, you don't need to. If you want to have that much acreage, we did. On our last property, we had 50 acres, and it was just a lot. We had big plans. It was beautiful land, and we enjoyed playing around down there by the lake and dreaming about how we were going to use it into the future. But it was going to be another, 10 or 12 years of development before we were able to get animals onto that land and run any cattle. And that's one of the reasons we decided we needed to move away from there. We're ready to get the animals. One of the big downfalls on the homestead right now is we don't have any dairy. So we are anxious to get some dairy production, whether that's from goats, sheep, cows, we don't know just yet. Well, what we do know is that we really do want to have that dairy in our diet. It's an important part of being able to survive on a homestead. And it's not just the protein from the milk. There's also the milk fat. So there's cheeses that can be made from the milk as well. A lot of times those cheeses are an important source of fat to get you through the winter. And I'm sorry, but the homogenized and ultra pasteurized garbage that they sell in the grocery store, you're not going to be making any quality cheeses out of that. Starting up here on the orchard hilltop with the peach trees. So the peaches we planted about 25 feet from what the apps tell me is silver maple. It is a maple tree. The underside of the leaves is a little bit silvery, so it probably is a silver maple. It is fully leafed out now, but that'll also be a sort of a help along tree. Trees don't actually grow very well in isolation. They do best when there are other trees around. So apparently they do share resources underground, even sending nutrition from one plant to the other. So we're deliberately planting these peach trees relatively close to the maple, really. We're only about 25 feet off of the maple tree. And we've also planted another maple on the other side of that maple tree. And the trees are just here. The peaches are in a small arc here around the maple tree, and that's what we're hoping, is that that tree is going to help support these guys. Also provides a little bit of shade for them. That way they're not getting all of the harsh sun. I don't know if y'all have noticed, but the sun's gotten a little bit brighter, a little bit harder to bear than it used to be. Plants are starting to suffer a little bit. We've even noticed the ground around here suffering. So the clay soil, even where it's covered with grass, is drying out so fast with all the wind we've been having that it's cracking. We don't want to see that happening in the bark of the trees. So some late afternoon shade, especially shading the western direction, is going to be very helpful for these trees. There's still a little bit of clay here. I'm going to put this on the downhill side of the plant in just kind of a little arc, and this will settle in, especially after we get everything down on top of it. There'll be a little clay berm here at the base of the tree. That's going to help hold water in, and hopefully that'll help keep plenty of moisture on this this tiny little maple tree. I'll admit it is struggling right now. We're not really sure if this thing's going to survive or not, but we're going to give it every possible chance it can to go ahead and thrive for us. So having the compost in contact with the soil, make sure we get some good microbial transactions between the soil and the compost. That'll help that compost to break down faster. It's also going to help to break down the grasses that are in here. So we'll also get the nitrogen and the organic compounds back out of that grass. All of that will end up feeding the tree in the end. Once we cover this with cardboard, that's going to help to make sure the grass doesn't grow up, so the tree's not competing with the grass at all. And over time, the cardboard breaks down. The worms will come up and eat through the compost. They'll eat through the cardboard, and eventually they'll start eating into what's left over of the wood chips once we put those down. This crabapple is now fully leaved out. Most of the blooms have fallen off of it. We're watching for a fruit set on it. But the reason I drove out here to have a look was actually to check on the ginger bed. So we planted this deliberately under the crabapple for this shade. That's why the bed of ginger is where it is, so it gets plenty of shade from the tree. And I'm really excited to see that right there in the middle of the screen, we got our first ginger plant coming up. So we didn't even count exactly how many chunks of ginger we planted in here. Some of them had some roots already starting on them, some stems that were starting to come up. But we had no idea how long it would take for this to come up. We've got one ginger growing in a pot inside, and it took several months for that to pop up. So we were expectant and hopeful that this was going to happen in the next few months, but it's already here. So this whole bed will eventually be covered with nothing but ginger. That's the plan, is to just keep it that way, and year after year, we'll always be able to pull ginger out of this plot. Next up is the red mulberry. And right at its base, we find Buttercup. We didn't have any Buttercup on the property, so this is implanted with this tree. So it came along with the tree. Some might say it's a weed. It will proliferate. It does spread pretty rapidly. We don't necessarily want this growing out in the pasture. Most animals won't eat the buttercups, but they also have some reports of usefulness for dealing with muscle pain. So I think for this particular Buttercup, we're just going to make sure it gets pulled out from around the Mulberry, because we want to get our mulch in here and kill off any plants that are growing right at the base of the tree. And Marty's out here in the garden. She's getting those strawberries put into these beds. The plants that we put in the ground several weeks ago should have come up by now, and we haven't seen anything. So we're going to go ahead and replace them with some more robust plants. These plants that we're putting in the ground are in much better shape. And we have a lot more confidence that what she's planting is actually going to grow and produce strawberries for us.
But if these strawberries come back, I'm planting everbearing where the everbearing were, and Juneberrying where the Juneberry were, and it's fine. I've also got in here beans because they will feed the strawberries. They go good together.
What were you fussing about your chickens?
My chickens dug up 11 tomatoes.
Uh-huh.
I wasn't going to plant a bunch of tomatoes this year anyway, but I don't want them digging them up. I planted sunflower seeds, and that's what they're going after.
Yeah, I told you guys about sunflower seeds, and apparently our fuzzy clan back here has decided to dig up tomatoes as well. So I'm gonna go get the net, and we're gonna put that back up around the tomatoes, not around the chickens. We still don't want to let these guys roam loose until we know for sure we can't manage to leave the garden without putting them up, in which case we'll just have to keep them caged. But for right now, we're gonna cage off the tomatoes and other plants. Y'all, this is some kind of mess in here. Pay close attention to how you put this stuff away. I didn't really have any plan when I rolled this up how I was going to get it back apart again. It's going to take a minute. One thing I noticed as I'm sitting here trying to untangle this mess, when you put this stuff away, make sure you don't allow the webbing to get wrapped up around the base of the poles. This is where all the spiky ends are, and you've got way too many places for the mesh to get caught, and it just forms a great big knot. So whatever you do, try to keep the mesh from wrapping up around the bottom of the poles. I can see why so many homesteaders start out trying this netting and they end up going to just wire on reels in order to manage animals. Even using this to manage chickens, it's going to be time consuming to deal with this netting all the time. Marty and I had seen this netting used on lots of different homesteading channels, and we'd heard people complaining about how difficult it was to unsort this and get it all reinstalled after it had been stored away for a bit, and they were right. This is not easy stuff to maneuver around. We haven't even tried pulling it over rough ground or up in trees, which they report is even worse, picking up sticks and other debris as you move the fencing around. So I would just say, if you're thinking about using some of this stuff, it does work. It is effective. It does allow you to even electrify the fence so you can deliver an electrical shock and keep animals away from the fence. Now the Silkies are already trained to stay away from the fence. So we're hopeful that this is going to be enough to slow them down. And I do mean slow them down because we don't even have enough fence to finish all the way off to cut these beds off from the Silkies. And we really don't want to coop these guys up. We like having them running around. They seem much happier now than they ever were when they were in a coop and run setup. And we just kind of like having them running loose out here. Their drama adds to our day.
Once the plants get old enough to hold their own, they'll leave them alone. It's just that they're digging and scratching there, and that's our fault because we don't have a dust bath for them. But they're digging and scratching, looking for sunflower seeds that I planted.
Yeah, these Mammoth sunflower seeds, we have discovered, just attract every animal that might want to eat them. And they come from miles around. They will dig in the dirt. They will try to get inside of metal tins, glass bowls, sealed jars, anything to get their hands on these sunflower seeds.
You know, in both beds, I have found no strawberry plants.
So all of those original plants that we put in the ground, haven't found any more of them.
No.
Y'all, that was strawberry roots from one of the big box stores. It was less than $4, I think.
We've had success with them before.
We have. We just did not have success this year. That could be because of our hot compost. The strawberries was some of the first plants to go on the ground. The compost has mellowed out quite a bit since then, so we're hopeful that these new strawberries, which look so much healthier, are going to do much better.
You can bet I will be propagating these.
So Marty's going to keep working on these strawberries, and I'm going to get back out in the orchard. Keep putting the compost around the trees out here. Hopefully the Silkies will do their job and stay away from the rest of the plants. And the blue sky was fun while it lasted. This could almost be pretty if it wasn't so tragic what was going on. Can y'all explain that one to me? How the trail starts, stops, starts again. So there's a lot more in the sky today than this one vulture. So we got the apple trees done and then moved our way uphill to right here around the propane tank. This is where we put some of the berries that we just decided at the last minute we were going to throw into the ground. I don't know if y'all remember, we said we were putting in a different thornless blackberry. I'm not really even sure what variety this is. It's just one we didn't have. And we're hoping it's going to grow. We'll propagate more off of it if it does. And we like the berries. And then we also put in a couple of gooseberries. So this is a green gooseberry and a red gooseberry. And the grass had just gotten way too tall around these things. They haven't been exposed to sunlight and air the way they should be. So we're getting those cleaned up as well. Got some compost put around them, and we'll also do the same thing with the cardboard and then the cedar mulch over the top. And in the waning hours of the day, we finally get around to getting some of this mulch out of the truck. This stuff is pretty lightweight. Actually, a little concerned we might lose a lot of this. We get another good heavy wind up. So I'm hoping it'll rain before the wind kicks up again. This is a really fine cedar mulch. think it's going to do a really good job of protecting the base of these plants, helping to hold in moisture. Grab something a little more appropriate for this material. Y'all, to me, that's one of the fun parts of homesteading is you get to have all the really cool tools and you have a reason to use them. No, I'll bring you compost, baby. Where are you planting it?
Up front?
Oh, okay. In your pots? Gotcha. You're good. Y'all, I got reminded yesterday, both sides of an argument, really. I got reminded that there are a lot of people out there who do see the world the way that we do, that they recognize that something's going wrong out there. I had one of the local farmers who was concerned about some of his health issues. We were talking about them, and I was sharing with him what we've learned over the last few years about our food system and about the need to grow your own food if you want to be healthy. And he concurred. He's been finding out some of the same stuff. He was just looking for someone who would tell him he was on the right track, so we did that. He was also concerned about what's going on in the skies over our head. He was a little more certain that that there was some manipulation going on up there. I'm not so sure about that. I just know it's different. I know something's going on up there that wasn't before. But he was really comforted to know that I didn't think he was crazy. But there are other people that they don't get this. They believe the narratives that are put forth in the media. They believe whatever it is that authority tells them they're supposed to believe. So when authority says there's nothing going on up here, stop looking up, they stop looking up. And you know, that's okay either way. You don't have to believe that the little streamers running across the sky are a danger sign to something that's changed. You don't have to accept the fact that our food system is broken to the point where it cannot be fixed. It has to be replaced. But you can still want to have a good and healthy life. It is possible for you to still want the same things that we want, which is just to be happy, to be at peace with ourselves and with the world around us, and to have enough food to eat. Good food, not just some garbage that you picked up at a fast food restaurant, but good quality food that not only makes you feel good, but leaves your body healthier than it was before you ate it. Hey, we want fresh air. We want to enjoy being outside. We want the time to have the luxury to stare up at the sky and watch what's going on up there. We may not agree on what's going on in the world and what's going to be coming next for everybody, but we can all agree that we just want to have a peaceful life as humans. And that's all we're really talking about here. That's all we're really looking for. When we say we want to return to the land, it's because if we own and have land, we can do what needs to be done to take care of our needs on that land. When we say return to the labor, it means we're willing to put in the work to do whatever it is we have to do in order to improve our chances of survival. And not just survival, we want to thrive, we want to do well. And then return to life, we really do want to take it easy. We want to be at peace. We don't want all the chaos and turmoil anymore. We don't want the constant grabbing for more. So that's why we're out here trying to encourage everybody else, whether you agree with us or not. Please be encouraged. There is an option. There is an alternative to what you've been told is the right and proper way to live a life. And it is better. I can say that from being out here. I'm telling you. This is what you're looking for. Come on out here and join us. It's time for you to return to the land, return to labor, and return to life. Let me get back to these fruit trees. All right, let's see if we can get some cardboard in around this gooseberry. And I'm not going to try to cut these round or do anything crazy like that, so it's pretty straightforward. Get a big slab of cardboard, try to fit it around the plant. Now, because I do want this to break down, I do need to get this cellophane tape off of it. I'm just going to make a notch toward the middle. I'm just going to notch out a little star there. That way I can peel back these corners a little bit, and that'll give me some place to allow the stem of the plant to come through. And again, if I was paying closer attention, I'd have made sure that I had the writing face down so it wouldn't show around the edges. But that's all we need to do to protect the plant, to keep the grass from growing up. Now I just need to get the cedar bark down on top of this. And I just want to keep the cedar back away from the plant, so that the stem of the plant is not choked or impeded by the mulch we're putting on top. So that's been the objective all day, is to get to this point where we have all of the fruit trees and the flowering bushes that we've been so busy putting in the ground protected. And they're protected in several ways. We first of all have some fertilizer down there, so we're going to get some amendment into the soil, try to get some nutrition down to the roots so they'll continue to grow. And then we also put the cardboard on top of that. Now that cardboard is going to help to keep the microbiotic life forms that are down there breaking down the compost in place and help keep them moist. And it's also going to prevent the grass from growing up around these trees. So everything's going to have plenty of room to grow without being choked by this beautiful grass. We do love the grass, but we got to keep it away from these plants if we want them to grow and thrive. And then finally, we've got this layer of mulch on the top, and that's going to keep everything nice and moist and also help to choke the weeds to keep new ones from growing. This grass has gotten to the point where it's already starting to throw off seeds, and those seeds won't take root in this cedar mulch. So we should be good for this season and probably the next one to not have to worry about grass growing up around this particular plant. Now we do have a bunch more plants to go. I was just remembering right before I started putting this mulch on the ground that we still have some raspberries up front. I haven't even looked at those yet, and I need to clean them off and get the compost around those as well. So there's still a lot of work to do just to get this small project finished up. We'll be working on this again tomorrow. We do appreciate you joining us on the Return Homestead today. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, would you please take a moment, open that window up and go ahead and subscribe? While you've got the window open, hit that thumbs up icon. That just lets the algorithm know you enjoyed the video, and then they'll share it out with more people. But you can help us out the most if you'll please share this video out on your social media. There's got to be somebody out there that you know who's looking for a more peaceful life, and I think we found it. So please encourage them to return to the land, labor, and life by just sharing this video. And we'll see you next time.